conversation that we're having right now into this. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to a Saturday meditation, the first community one that I'm actually doing. In this video, you'll actually see some of the talk, but unfortunately, not the meditation. There's people who actually went ahead. I had to get the building. They had to pay. So you won't actually get that part, but you'll get some other things, some good things. So I just turned this on and we were having a conversation about those things that are lost. People don't realize that they meditate every day. It's a thing. It's a thing. People meditate every day. We go places every day in our minds. We don't realize we're there. We drive. We get in the car, we drive, and suddenly we're in the parking lot at our jobs because we meditated there. Like we weren't paying attention. And then you doing something and you're like, well, where did I go? What was I just thinking about? Why don't I remember? Those are our meditations. So one of the things that I want to talk about is what meditation is and what it isn't. I've heard people say, well, I don't want to do that because it's a religion. Meditation isn't a religion. I've heard people say, well, I'm afraid of opening up doors. Meditation can only open up doors in your own mind. It doesn't open up doors to some unknown realm. And where did that come from? That comes from propaganda and people becoming afraid. And once you know something, because the doors that opens up in your mind might be, now I know something, so now I have to do something about it. You become a nurse, you see somebody collapse, you have to do something about it. And so now that I know something, I have to do something about it. And for some people, that's just not what we want to do. We don't necessarily want to do something about what doors might open up. When you meditate, you see things, relive things in your mind, and then you may see some things that you don't want to see about yourself. Well, once you see those things, you have to do something about them. So if I see myself, a bad situation, I was in this situation because of me, because other people don't put us in situations. We put ourselves in situations. Meditation can help us realize that. Well, then you got to do something about it. You might have to get out of that situation that you become comfortable with, that you become complacent with. So the definition of meditation is actually to engage in contemplation or reflection. Another definition is to engage in mental exercise. And that one is like repeating a mantra. One thing with meditation, the first sound of the universe is Om. So you'll see people and they'll be sitting down and they're Om. And if you do that, you'll literally feel the vibration in your head. And it takes you to a state where it's actually doing things in your brain. The more you do it, the more things happen in your brain. It actually creates brain changes. What meditation is simply observing your thoughts without judgment. So that drive to your job is where you drove there. You didn't see anything on the way there, but suddenly you were there. It's a meditative state. It's not actually meditation because you weren't paying any attention. It just happened. Your brain just did it. It's what people call autopilot, or like when somebody's in the zone. You take a runner and they just get there and you're like, oh my goodness, how did they do that? Because they literally got in the zone and they were just there and they're running and there's nothing else for them because their concentration is in that moment. This leg, this leg, this leg, this leg, this breath, this breath, this breath, this breath. Hi, come on in. And go that way. Go. And so what we were just talking about, to bring up to speed. So what we're talking about is how people meditate every day and don't realize it. How meditation is not a religion, although some people pretend it is. How the doors that meditation opens are the doors in your mind, as opposed to these doors out in some unknown place, except that most of us don't see what's in our minds. Right. And if you see it, you have to do something about it. if you see that you're not necessarily a good person to yourself, you have to start being good to yourself. That's the hardest thing for a whole lot of people. We can be really good to other people, but it's really difficult when you actually see, yeah, I'm not so good to me. I don't take time out for me. I don't do things for me. Right? That's why you're here, right? I don't do things for me. I don't have time. Oh my goodness. How long is it going to be? Am I going to have to stay for 6 hours? I can't put 6 hours into me. You know, that's why people go and get their nails done. They go get their hair done. But how many of us even put stuff like that off? A haircut for guys. How many people put that stuff off? Or I need to run and do it on the fly. Because we really don't try to give that time to us. And that's what meditation is all about. So it's observing thoughts without judgment. It is a mindfulness activity of being in the moment. The difference between being in a meditative state when you got in your car, you backed out your driveway, and then suddenly you were in the parking lot at your job. We've all done it. And then it's like, whoa, how did I get here? What did I see on the way? That would be a more of a meditative state, not meditation, because we didn't observe anything. We just went autopilot. And meditation is a skill. So I hear people say all the time, I just can't meditate. I don't know how to meditate. I can't meditate. Yet, as I just said, we all do it all the time. So meditation is a skill, just like anything else. The first time you tried to write the letter A, you couldn't write the letter A. Then you kept doing it over and over again until you could actually do it. And one day it's like, wow, I just did this and it felt like that. So then what happens is now we've gotten these dopamine receptors on fire, and I'm gonna segue and then come back. That's the exact same thing that happens with the opiate receptors. That's that high that people are chasing. So then you have to be careful with meditation that you're not simply chasing that high, because your meditation is going to be what it's supposed to be for you at that moment. Whether it's 2 minutes, whether it's 3 minutes, whether you reach this high state. And I've been there with this high state in my meditation where you're like, okay, you're in your brain. And you're kind of like looking around. What is this cave that I'm in? Oh, it's me. I'm in me. Imagine that. I'm inside me. So what do I do now? Because you're there. I've been there where I've meditated on a specific thing. So people go to church and it says, the preacher, the pastor, the minister is talking, and they're saying, we need to meditate on these things. And we have our notebooks out and we're writing, and we write, meditate on this. And yeah, that was it. That was the whole thing. We wrote it and then we kept it moving, and we never thought about what that meant. So to think about it, to observe our thoughts about this thing consciously. It's a novel concept. We study, we go to school, and then we think about these things in our sleep. Who has had note cards, because you need to remember it, and you look at them and you're like, okay, I'm going to go to sleep. And then you go to sleep. And in your brain, you're going through that stuff in your brain. Remember, people pretend if you put it underneath your pillow, you'll remember it. Yeah. Well, right, you'll absorb it if you put it underneath your pillow. Well, technically, if you've actually looked at it and then you put it underneath your pillow, you relive it in your brain, and that's a form of meditation. So we all do it all the time. There is no such thing as I can't meditate. So the history of meditation, the first time that meditation was actually written about was somewhere between 5000 BC and 1500 BC. It's written about in the Vedas in India. So, and I've actually tried to read the Vedas. It's a little bit difficult. Yeah, you got to have some time, and you should digest it slowly because, it's a little bit difficult. A little heavy. It's a little heavy. Yeah, I like that. It's a little heavy. It's a little heavy. But it's really interesting. All of the history, I can say I am not a big history buff, but when history translates to science, I'm all over it. Love it. So when we talk about history and meditation, there's a science to meditation. So that made me happy. So I'm like, oh, well, where did this come from? Where did that come from? Okay, so then we go to China. And then in the Middle Age, there was Japanese Buddhism, Jewish meditation, Islam, and Christianity. What? Didn't I was just saying there, I heard someone say we shouldn't open these doors. Christians shouldn't open these doors. They'll say, well, if you're Islamic, you shouldn't be doing this. If you're Jewish, you shouldn't be doing that. But none of it's true. We have to be open to history. And then in the United States in the early 20th century, it became a big thing. Okay, everybody's going to be doing this meditation. It's going to be great. We got the beaded curtains. Of course, remember that was the braless time, and we're going to smoke some weed and all kinds of stuff. So that was how, if you think about it, that's how we get away from it. Because if you're not going to be using drugs, if you're not going to be burning incense, if you're not going to be woo woo, then why are you doing it? So that's how we got away from it. That's how we got to it. And that's also how we got away from it. So one of my goals is I just think that we need it back. I know what it's done for me. It has made me become a better person to me. And if I'm better to me, then I'm better to other people. So, and now I'm going to, the chakras. So I talk about the chakra systems, and we have a heart chakra. It's right there in the middle, right in the middle of us. Well, the heart chakra has two sides. One side is giving love to ourselves, and one side is giving love to other people. First rule of thumb, you can't give love to somebody else until you give love to yourself first, because it's false. You're just taking care of somebody else to make yourself feel good if you're not giving love to yourself first. You got to do it. So meditation can help us align those chakras, including the crown chakra, which is the one that attaches us to what's out there, attaches us oneness with the universe, oneness with God, oneness with whatever a person calls the higher power. Let's see, where do we go next? So why is meditation beneficial? This was really interesting. This is where the science comes in. So it's stress reduction. A lot of people have said to me, well, I want to learn how to meditate. I've heard that it'll help me with stress. Yep, it sure will. It'll help you with stress because you're giving yourself some love and taking a time out. So, yep, it will help you with stress. Meditation can actually change the structure of the brain. What? So, what does it do? Well, it actually shrinks the amygdala. So think about perceived threats, fear, how we react. So it shrinks that part. And some people will say, well, isn't that a bad thing? We want to be able to react. No, we want to be able to act. We want to be able to do. We don't necessarily want to be like these knee jerk reactions. Somebody said something, you're like, why did you say that to me? Or, oh my God, that person over there, that homeless guy, he's going to rob me. We don't want to think like that. So this actually helps us take a moment without even thinking about it and not jump to conclusions. It also thickens the prefrontal cortex. What? So it makes brain changes. Thickens the prefrontal cortex. That was hard to say with these braces in my mouth. I just want y'all to know that. Um, and what that does is that's where our higher level thinking is. So again, with those two things working in conjunction, we just simply think better. Imagine that 2 minutes out your day can help you think better if you do it consistently. Wow. When you think about that gift that you're giving yourself for those 2 minutes, those 2 hours, or however long it is, then that's pretty amazing, isn't it? It increases the ability to control thoughts equals increased control of reactions. It's shown to decrease stress, anxiety, depression, and pain. So when I think about pain, I think about, I worked in OB for many years, and women go and they learn like Ramaz and how to breathe through the contractions. What do we think that is? Meditation. Focus on the breath. Okay, come on, come on, come on. Look at me. You're looking at me. Breathe with me. I want you to focus on that breath. It's a meditation. We all do it. We are all very capable. And as nurses teach it. Yet I hear a lot of nurses say, I can't do it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not true. We teach visualization. We teach guided imagery. Yeah, but that's not meditation. We need to stop focusing on what the buzzword is and actually focus on what the action is. It improves immune function. Because when we rest, you think about it, fight or flight. If you stay in fight mode, the organism dies. If you stay in fight mode and you're using up your white blood cells because it's fighting all the time, fighting you, then your immune function goes down. Well, meditation relaxes the body, so you get a balance. It decreases insomnia. Why am I up? It is 3:33 a.m. Why am I up? Oh, here, let me grab my phone and get on Facebook.
Heidi. Don't look at me like that. I don't see you looking at me like that.
How about let's roll over or sit up or do something and meditate instead? Yeah, but it's pretty colors over here on Facebook. What's going on? Well, you know what? There are pretty colors in your mind too. Visualize something that you really like, and do that instead. And I guarantee you'll do it, you'll learn it, and you'll go back to sleep. And then when you wake up light, like this literal feeling of lightness. And then you start to enjoy it. And you're like, oh, well, when I wake up at 3:34 tomorrow, because I'm asleep a minute longer, I'm not going to grab it again. I'm going to go to my meditative space. You know, that spot that you can create in your brain that belongs to only you. It also creates a sense of overall well-being. We all want to feel good, right? But what does feel good feel like? What does feel good feel like? Can somebody tell me?
What does feel good feel like anymore? What does feel good feels good, feels light, feels worry free, feels happy, feels
There's so many words you can use, but it's like
not heavy. Yeah.
not heavy. And see, that's not heavy
Feel
is
light.
what I actually describe it as. It's not heavy. I feel light. But then I get these people looking at me like, you feel light. What does that mean? Literally, you feel like stuff just water came up and washed stuff off of you. That feeling. And so meditation can do this for us. There's many types of meditation. I was just talking about visualization, which is a form of meditation. There's some that actually have names, transcendental meditation. There's guided or unguided, just quiet meditation. I'm going to take you guys through it. Guided meditation, sorry, you guys. I'm going to take you guys through a guided meditation as part of today. And then there's calming or insight. So you set the intention, and that would be where, like I said, you're at a church, a synagogue, a holy building, where you're just talking to somebody, and they say, well, why don't you meditate on it and get back to me? Why don't you think about it and get back to me? Same thing, just so we have to not get stuck on the terms. And then you go and you think about it. You might pray about it, think about it some more, let it rest a little bit, and then you come up with some, you know what, I think I need to go ahead and do this, not that, or that, not this. That's what the intention of the meditation is. And trust me, intention is everything. Intention is everything. We can do so many things. Intention is everything. We have jobs. We intended to get jobs. So when we filled out the application, when we did the action steps, we got the jobs. Intention is everything. But you'll hear people say, well, no, that really doesn't work. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does. I'm pretty sure we live it. Again, something else that we live and that we don't pay enough attention to. Yeah, because we don't pay enough attention to ourselves. There is body scan. We're going to do one of those, which I really like it. We see things that are going on in our body that maybe we've just thought about them. Oh, my hip hurts. My hip really does hurt because I have a bad hip. But so my hip hurts. Oh, I have a headache. Well, have you ever had a headache and you're like, my head hurts, and then you start thinking, well, where exactly does it hurt at? I'm a nurse practitioner. I assess patients. Someone comes in and they tell me they have a pain, and I say, okay, you have pain. Where's the pain at? Well, it's in my stomach. Well, can you show it to me? And that's a focused attention on that spot. So with body scan, you literally scan your whole body and see what sensations you feel. It might not be pain. It might be a tickle. It might be anything. But that's what you do with body scan. Um, there's visualization. We talked about that. And this really works with when you have a goal and you visualize it and you raise your vibrations because you're literally living in the goal. So what do I think I would feel like if I had $1 million right now? Oh, it'd be amazing because I just do these classes for free all the time. I would be living in my dream world. And so that alone just makes me feel lighter. So you visualize it. I don't know if I'll ever have $1 million to do these classes for free, but I do know that one day I will be doing these classes for free. And that makes me feel really good. Um, there is loving kindness. And that's a hard one for people sometimes. Not the actual meditation itself, but as you start sharing loving kindness and projecting loving kindness out, sometimes you draw people to you that, yeah, you don't necessarily think you like them, but because you're being so loving, they're drawn to you because the thing about them that you may not have liked is because that's a place that needed love. So, with loving kindness, you actually think about a person, a place, a thing that makes you feel love. So, if it's a child, if it's a maid, if it's a dog, a cat, whatever, mom, dad, and you think about them and you project love to them and you feel love from them in your meditation. And yeah, people start coming that you're like, I don't understand why you're talking to me. Why are you talking to me? Pretty sure I don't want you to talk to me. And then you realize because you've been practicing loving kindness that I'm not acting in a loving and kind way in my brain. Let me change that. Okay. You're here because you need something that I have to offer, and probably because you have something that I need to. There is reflection. And reflection is something that's really good to do in the evenings. Okay, how did this go? How did that go? And then you add gratitude to it. So, I woke up this morning. I said, I'm thankful for the events of the day. I'm grateful for the adventures that are going to happen because they're just adventures. And then in the evening, reflect back on it. And I'm grateful that my day went this way. Some years ago, I had like a lot of family members die at one time, like literally within a couple of months. It was a really rough year. And I came to a place where things that used to get me worked up didn't work me up as much. I would say things like, it's okay, right? Nobody died. And I know one person was around me when I started saying that. And I had to, I thought about why I was saying it because we get so worked up. Oh my goodness, I got this deadline. I got to do this right now. What am I going to cook next? And we're all over the place. It's okay. Nobody died because when that happened, I literally felt like there's a styrofoam ball and people are being plucked out of the styrofoam ball. So my pretty ball has holes in it. And then I visualized the other holes that were in it, the other people that had been missing out of my life throughout my life as they left, as they passed away. I did some work on my sacred contract. And as you look at so sacred contracts are why you're here, while you're here in this lifetime. And there's four that are in all of us. There's a victim, there's a saboteur, there's a prostitute, and there's a child. The child, and these are just words, they're not what we come to think about these things as being. Because I was like a prostitute. Hold on, wait a minute. My undies are intact, but it's what you're willing to sacrifice self for. So if you're willing to sacrifice self for your family, well, in that house, in one of the 12 constellations, that's where you're prostituting yourself. So for me, one of the big ones that stood out was the child. There's a wounded child. There's an abandoned child. There goes my big ball with these pieces plucked out. So now there's holes. People are abandoning me. And when I saw that, I was like, well, if I balance this, they're not abandoning me. They're simply completing their journeys. Meditative thought. They just completed their journeys. Oh, so their journey wasn't about me? It's all about me. I don't know what y'all, it's all about me, is where I was at. And that's not where I needed to be. So through meditation and through, where I've gone, that's what types of things have actually occurred for me. There's, like I said, some other ones like Zen, there's chakra, there's Qigong, there's transcendental, sound baths. I love sound. You love sound. I love sound. I love Tibetan bowls. I love bells. I have a 6 hour on YouTube. If I weren't looking at me, we'd probably be playing it right now, where I have Tibetan bells going. And I just sit there. I play it in my office. I love it. It makes me feel really good and tingly. I walk around the house and I chime in every corner of the house every now and then, raise the vibrations. And then there's yoga. And the thing about yoga, a lot of people get into it for, oh, I need to increase my flexibility. I need to strengthen my core or whatever. But the reality is, you hold these poses and you breathe and you're in that moment. So even yoga is a form of meditation. Um, Methods of meditation in everyday life. So again, people tell me I can't do it. I don't know how to do it, but you can do it. We do it, and you can do it consciously. You can consciously make a cup of ice water. You can consciously make a cup of tea. You can consciously go for a walk. Well, how do I consciously go for a walk? Notice what's around you. When you're walking, make the purpose of your walk, set the intention that the purpose of your walk is going to be to notice what's around you. The benefit of your walk will then be twofold. You got some exercise, so you got your physical body going, and you also meditated. You notice the things that are around you that you probably never saw before. How many times have you walked past the same thing in your house 50 times, and then you're like, when did that crack get there?
Right.
Well, it didn't get there just now. So you walked past it. You just didn't pay attention to it. The neighbor has some really pretty flowers. I wonder how long they've had those flowers. 6 years. You just walked past them and didn't think about them. They've never not had those flowers. And we go out, at Christmas time. Christmas time is really pretty. People set out to go look at the lights. When I was younger, people got in cars and put the kids in cars and you drove around to look at the lights on different people's houses. Well, that's a form of meditation. People don't do that so much anymore. We got to get it back. We got to get back to it. Eating mindfully. Well, we don't do that. We eat to eat. I eat to satisfy my tongue. A couple of weeks ago, Dr. Gokula was here and we did the wellness event and he talked about it. He said the tongue is like this big. So you let something this big control all of this. And I was like, yeah, that's harsh. That's really harsh. That's really harsh. Anybody who knows me knows I actually love food. But if we pay attention, and I remember again, when I was a kid and they taught you how to eat because there were things that you did in school. It was a science experiment with a cracker. I don't know if you ever did that. And you chew it and it's telling you about how carbohydrates are actually sugars. And they tell you how many times to chew the cracker and pay attention and you'll notice it starts to taste kind of sweet. A meditation. Sneaky little devils. Look at what they did there. And then we went away. Oh, yep. Yeah, I remember that. But I'm about to eat this soup and this half a pack of crackers. And I'm going to eat it really fast because I'm really hungry. And then we feel like, because we weren't paying any attention. So we can eat mindfully. And if we eat mindfully, things will change. I can't lose weight. Well, pay attention to your food and pay attention to what you're drinking. Let me grab this pop. I'm joking because anybody who knows me knows that I haven't drank pop in over 20 years. But it was just one day I was like, yeah, I just don't think I'm going to drink this anymore. And so I just stopped. That's the power of the mind. I just stopped. When I say that to people, they're like, what? You don't drink pop? Mm-mm. And now, since I haven't drank it in so long, I'm afraid to because I don't know what would happen. Right. I don't know if I'm going to have this big sugar rush, if it's going to hurt my stomach. I have no idea. So giving myself some love, I don't know what this is going to do to me, so I'm going to leave it alone because I stopped. Giving yourself some love, a mindfulness technique. Um, Writing mindfully, writing. So there's a way to engage the brain that opens up intuition and thought process. Do you know what it is? Write with your non-dominant hand. I know. Look at that. Write with your non-dominant hand and write words like love. Don't pay attention to what it looks like because I'm one of those, I want it to look like this and I'm going to throw it away if it doesn't look pretty. But when we're born, we don't know how to write. And if you pay attention to babies, they actually use both of their hands. And then we start favoring one more than the other. And then the person who's ambidextrous and can use both hands, we're like, wow, you can? Well, guess what? They never stopped. So start doing it again. It literally does things to the brain and raises vibrations. Something else, when you write, physically write, don't type it. We're so hooked on what can I type? What can I type? I want to type faster. I had a conversation yesterday, I think, with someone who was filling out a form, and she said, I could just fill out this form so much faster if I typed. It was during an evidence-based practice seminar or workshop. And I said, but you couldn't. She said, I could. I said, but you still have to be looking at the article while you're doing it. So it's really not going to be any faster. And typing, once you learn how to type, you put your fingers in place, you're not paying any attention. You're just doing it. When you write, you're paying attention. I don't want to not be on this line, so I'm going to pay attention to what I'm writing. So you're engaging both sides of your brain at the same time. And meditative writing would be like a reflection journal. I encourage everyone to get a journal. Set a goal of I'd like to write 15 minutes for 15 minutes every day. Don't get angry with yourself if you don't. But what you'll realize is if you skip time, you'll have so much more that you got to get in this journal. It's a gift to yourself. That journaling is a gift to yourself. And you can go back and look at that and be like, wow, I've been doing all of these things. So as you embark on your meditative journey, go ahead, get a journal. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. My journals are fancy. I love leather-bound books. So I have leather-bound journals. It's not where I started at, but every year I start a journal on January 1st. I've done that for 3 years, and I fill up the journal by the end of the year. My daughters are like, what do you write in these things? Did you treasures? And they're treasures. And you go back and you're like, oh, I remember that. And now that you've meditated, when you wrote it and you was angry, I can't believe my boss did this or said that student did that. I can't. And you're writing these things and you go back and you look at them and you're like, I can't believe that it bothered me that much. Because now you're meditating and you feel so much better and things don't bother you as much. That amygdala is smaller, that prefrontal cortex is thicker. And boy, you start thinking, that amygdala must have been really big back then. And did I even have a prefrontal cortex with the way I was writing, with that thought process that was going on then? Why on earth was I thinking like that? That's what meditation can do for you. And journaling. Journal. You know what? I'm going to do a meditation class one day, and I am going to actually hand out journals. I know I am. I can see it. Now that I've said it, I've given it to the universe, it's going to happen. Of course, they're going to have my trademark on them. But we're going to do some twofold stuff here. But that's what I'm going to do one day. So a routine practice, that's the key. Remember I said that meditation is a skill. How do people call it meditative practice? How do we get better at any skill? We practice it. So if you practice for 1 minute, that's practice. And then that 1 minute will become 2 minutes. That 2 minutes become 3 minutes, and so on and so forth. Part of the issue with people in meditation is what we think it looks like. We think you have to sit in the lotus position. My legs don't even fold that way. They never have. I don't think they folded that way in utero. I don't know how I was laying, but I don't think it was that. Or we think that we have to sit or stand or we can't lay because God forbid you fall asleep. Well, you know what? If you fell asleep, you needed to, because you had insomnia at 3:33 and went on Facebook instead of going back to sleep and meditating. So if you fall asleep, you needed to, and that's okay. Set the intention in your mind for how long you want to meditate. And ultimately, no matter how long you're in there, you'll be like, okay, I guess I'm done. And you'll look, and that's exactly the amount of time that's passed. Because we rely on our clocks and things like that and alarms, but we don't have to. What did people do when they didn't have them? We have our own circadian rhythm. So by meditating, you can reset yourself. Morning meditation sets the tone for the day. I meditate in the mornings, and I can tell the difference when I don't, especially if I don't for like 3 days, because I'm more in my head. We don't want to be in our heads. We actually want to be here. This is the seat of our emotions. And you think about it, this is literally the middle of your body. So if you're in your body, if your awareness is in your body, it's right here. It's not right here. The brain is made to think. It's what it does. It's its job. But we don't have to pay attention to every single thought. We just don't have to. We just do it. Okay, I got a few minutes to sit here that I can take some time out for me. And what's the first thing we do? We sit there and we go, okay, all right. I wonder what we're gonna eat for dinner. Hmm. I forgot to take this out. Oh, that would have been nice. Oh, yep. Oh, I need to get back to my office because I got to do this. Literally, and you're visualizing in your head all of these things and you're paying attention to all of these things. It's okay for the brain to think. You don't have to pay attention to every single thought. There's a method where someone, and it's a part of heartfulness meditation, someone teaches you and they tell you to just check it. And there's other things where you just acknowledge the thought. So the thought pops into your head, and oh, what are we going to have for dinner? You realize you're kind of going off with that thought. You go, okay, I'm meditating. Tell yourself you're meditating. It's okay. I talk to myself all the time. And sometimes my lips move. People next to me in the car probably think I'm pretty crazy. The radio ain't on, but my lips are moving. I got a lot of stuff to say to me, and sometimes me is the best person for me to talk to. I'm just saying. So yeah, meditation in the morning sets the tone for the day, even if it's just 1 minute. Lay there, some gratitude. Be thankful that you have a bed, because some people don't. Meditate on that thought. Be thankful for what the day is gonna bring to you. Meditate on that. Those things are okay, and it sets the tone. Every day is not going to be our favorite day, but every day is a day, and every experience is an experience. It cultivates peace of mind and kindness towards others, because remember, we don't have that knee jerk reaction. So we're just kind of, you're not necessarily my favorite person, but you are a person and you have a spirit and I have a spirit. So we have a connection because all of us have that thing in us. And you start to see more of that as opposed to how that person projects themselves into the world. Because guess what? It's not mine. Their projection into the world is theirs. I don't have to focus on that. We just tend to focus on that. An evening meditation, it rests the mind. It's all right, meditate in the evening, go to sleep, wake up at 3, do it again, go to sleep. And it encourages the sleep. So it rests the mind. The mind will continue to think. You develop a practice where you can just check the thoughts off. Yep, I see you thought. They just kind of float away. Another one comes, you let it float away. Mind rests and go to sleep. Because when you wake up at 3 a.m. with these thoughts in your head, because there's always a thought. You ever notice that? When you wake up at 3 a.m., there's already a thought in your head. Why? Oh, because the thought manifested while you were asleep, because the brain is always thinking, and you carried it as opposed to meditating and letting it go away. It's just a thought. And there's nothing that you're going to do about it at 3:33 a.m. There's not. You're not going to get up and change the world at 3:33 a.m. Does anybody have any questions about meditation? statements, facts, figures.
Question.
Sure.
So I'm here because I have a friend that meditates, and we've been hanging out, and I've discovered about myself, like I don't like a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably why I don't exercise that much, right? And I just kind of go by the seat of my pants and see where the day takes me. So how do you develop that habit or set that time aside? Like, how do you develop that?
So how do you develop the habit or set the time aside? Don't. When you realize you haven't meditated, do it. Remember, it's practice. So once you start doing it and you start, well, I really like the way this feels. Maybe your time isn't in the morning. Maybe your time isn't in the evening. Maybe your time is in the middle of the day. Maybe, and there's also, I do some stuff with Ayurveda, and there's 3 types of people. And those 3 types of people have 3 different times that work better for them. It's all about knowing what works for you because remember, the purpose of the meditation is to make you feel better. So close your door, turn off your light, move the phone away. If your watch vibrates, take it off too, and take those few minutes. In the beginning, if you want to set a timer, set the timer. The whole idea is to get used to the practice. Yeah. So some of us are like, but if I don't have it written on my calendar, then I might not do it. But then you realize, you know what? I want to try this. Let me go ahead and try it. So it would be better if you said, I'm going to do this every day, or I'm going to do this once a week. If you're not doing it at all, once a week is good. If you're not drinking any water at all, 1 cup is where you start. It's the same thing. Don't make me text you.
My friend does.
Don't make me
But
text you.
She doesn't text as much, but about meditation.
I will go ahead and set in there in my phone an alarm that tells me to text other people on my network. Little pointers. Okay, bam. This is what it's time to do this. Have you done this today? Don't make me come up with something like that for the masses. You see my brain going right there.
Yeah,
By the end of the day, by
by
the end of the day, I'll have a whole plan formatted. Okay, I am about to get off of here right now because we're going to do a meditative exercise. Bye-bye.